Welcome back, Ronin Renegades. I am Lupine Fiasco. This is Daily FaB gameplay, and today's game will be against Levia. For anyone who is new to the channel, welcome to the Resistance. What we do here is review replays of games that I have played on the Talishar client days or weeks ago, after enough time has passed that I lose my bias and can more objectively judge the quality of my play. I will walk through turn cycles as if I were taking them now while explaining my thought process for the lines that I take, and we compare that to what I did at the time of recording. We either learn from my mistakes or reinforce good play patterns with the overall goal of tightening and optimizing our gameplay in the future to take down paper events like Pro Quests or Road to Nationals, and most importantly, walk away with that shiny, shiny cardboard. Today's game features my Switchblade list. If you would like to check that list out or try it for yourself on Talishar, the FaB deck link is available in the video description below. While you're down there, if you have not already done so, please consider subscribing to my channel. It is the best free way to support me and to make sure you see daily FaB gameplay in your video feed 5 days a week. The best paid way to support me is on Patreon, and my Patreon link is available in the video description as well. A Patreon subscription will get you Discord access, your name will appear in every daily FaB gameplay video, and there are even more exciting bonuses to come. Daily FaB gameplay will always be free 5 days a week, so for those who can afford to patronize me, I truly appreciate it. Without further ado, let's talk about our sideboard and our game plan. We win the die roll and we are going to choose to go second. This is a tempo matchup where we are going to use our opening hand to block whatever Levia throws at us, and we get to throw the first attack back at her. We get to draw up at the end of her first turn. She does not get to draw back up at the end of our first turn. So she is either going to take damage or block with cards from hand, which will limit her offensive capabilities. But unlike a more aggressive matchup like FaB or Dash, Levia doesn't need 4 cards to do big damage to us. She can block with 2 cards from hand, then throw a 2-card 8 or 9, with Swing Big or any of her Blood Debt attacks that gain power. So she can play more of a value-centric game, throwing damage at us while limiting the damage we can deal to her until she draws into something like a Blood Rush Bellow. The other thing that we need to be aware of is that Levia has her
Demi-Hero.
Once she hits anywhere above 13 life, such that the blood debt in her banish will take her to 13 life, she flips into Blasmaphet Consumed. She will be able to play the blood debt cards in her banish zone, which effectively gives her 5-card hands to close out the game. If she has 4 or 5 blood debt cards in banish when she flips, we probably lose. So we're jumping the gun a bit, we are getting into gameplay, but the way that we win this game is by pushing her past the point where she can go Blasmaphet and keep her on base Levia. And once we keep her on base Levia, if we can continue to throw damage at her, such that she needs to block with cards from hand and is unable to turn off her blood debt, she will kill herself. So with all of that said, we are going to be bringing in our Searing Emberblade and our Mask of the Pouncing Lynx, as that is going to help us push Levia to the point where she cannot flip into Blasmaphet Consumed. A slower game with Kodachis and Mask of Momentum is not great here because Levia does not mind blocking with cards from hand, and because Mask of Momentum lacks the explosive power of Pouncing Lynx for pushing Levia past the point of flipping. Brute, at the moment, does not deal arcane damage, so we do not need our Spell Void, and we are, of course, going with our trusty Snapdragon Scaler. As far as the cards in the 60, we are just boarding out our Bleed Outs and bringing in our Spreading Flames. Spreading Flames help set up bigger turns, and without Kodachis to discount the cost of Bleed Out is a terrible, terrible card. Let's throw the good luck, have fun, and jump into it. Phoenix Flame goes to discard, and we have a pretty good set of opening cards to block whatever Levia can throw. Her Pulping discards an Art of War, which is great news for us. It does not have Dominate, so we are able to block it out in its entirety, and we are just going to do so with our Lava Vein Loyalty and our Ancestral Empowerment. We keep a 0-cost Draconic Starter and a blue, so we are going to be set up on our next turn. Levia has no tricks, she will just pass to us. Our hand here lends itself very well to being aggressive. We can keep one of our Draconic Starters in Arsenal for our next turn, and between Brand with Cinderclaw and Rising Resentment, I am more of a fan of keeping Resentment in the Arsenal, as it has more potential to enable bigger turns when it is actually discounting things instead of just being a head jab. We're going to attack with our Brand with Cinderclaw, then our Blaze Headlong. We can see that Levia has a Scowling Flesh Bag, and while she might not block with it immediately, as long as it's on the board, we do need to consider our sequencing. So this turn has to start with a Brand with Cinderclaw. We can't get around that. If we get blocked by the Scowling Flesh Bag, we still have a playable turn even if our blue gets banished, but we really don't want our blue to get banished. If something is going to get banished, we want it to be either our Rising Resentment or our Blaze Headlong, which are much stronger on future turns. So we want to open with our Brand, then we want to attack with our Emberblade, then we attack with our Blaze Headlong, and finally our Phoenix Flame. There are not always going to be opportunities to play around the Flesh Bag, and you may wind up facing a Levia who blocks with it on their very first opportunity. But for the most part, we need to treat it as a constant threat, and we need to constantly be aware of what cards are left in our hand and what we want to be left with at the end of the turn. Phoenix Flame getting a block out of Levia is great for us. It is likely that she is concerned about Mask of the Pouncing Lynx here, but we are not looking to break it until we have Levia lower on life, or can find an Art of War or a Spreading Flames. Here, Levia coming with Dread Screamer, it does hit, so it has Go Again. We don't need to block this. We don't necessarily want all of these cards in our hand, but we want to at least be cognizant of Command and Conquer as a threat. So we don't need to block this Dread Screamer. We can block whatever comes after it. We're going to say no blocks here, and we will take our 6. Levia coming with Swing Big from Arsenal is interesting. I am inclined to block with Enlightened Strike and Soulbead Strike, and I will tell you why. We have a Rising Resentment and a Double Strike available, so we can attack with Double Strike, Rising Resentment, 1, 2, 3. Then we have our Snatch as a finisher that potentially draws us a card. Enlightened Strike, Soulbead Strike has the potential to be worth 7. It has the potential to be worth 5. Draw a card if we wanted to use our Snapdragon Scalers. But it also is just worth 6 on blocks. And if we were going to use E-Strike, Bottoming Soulbead Strike as a finisher, as 7 points of value, then I would be inclined to keep it here. 7 points of offensive value is worth more than 6 points of defensive value at this point in the game. But we aren't using it for that because we have our Snatch. We would be using E-Strike, Soulbead Strike as 5 points of offensive value. And that makes me think that I want to use it on defense. So we block the Swing Big with both of those cards for 6. Do we want to throw our Furnace in front of it as well to get our Quicken token? And for me, the answer is no. I don't want to open my turn with Snatch. I want to open my turn with Double Strike to get Double Strike out of my hand in case Scowling Fleshbag is used. If the Fleshbag blocks Double Strike, we still attack with another Double Strike and our Rising Resentment, then we Arsenal a Snatch, which is a good card to Arsenal. If it is not used, then we end our turn on Snatch. And now Levia has a difficult decision to make as far as blocking it. If we open with Snatch, Levia gives us a card from hand and the Fleshbag, we lose our Double Strike. We come in with Rising Resentment for 3, then Arsenal our Double Strike. That wasn't a very strong turn. But if we end with Snatch, that is a much stronger line for future turns. So all of this is being said to say we are not going to block with Flamescale Furnace. We are going to save it to block something like a Command and Conquer. But I am very confident that blocking 6 here is correct. We play the tempo game, not the aggro game. Double Strike here goes unblocked. We are not going to break our pouncing links this turn, at least not with the resources we have available. Double Strike getting a full card out of Levia's hand is good news for us. And a second card for Rising Resentment is great as well. We throw the Snatch. Levia can give us another card, which she does, and gives us the rest of Scabskin Leathers, and just moves to end and arsenals. Looking at this hand, let's think about what we want to arsenal at the end of this turn. I would like to arsenal Snatch if it comes down to that. So to start, I want to throw Ronin Renegade here. We throw Ronin Renegade first. If that gets blocked by the Fleshbag, we still have a functioning turn. If we lose Double Strike, we pitch Salt the Wound to Emberblade, then we Snatch. If we lose Double Strike, then we Emberblade, Snatch. And if we lose Snatch, then we Double Strike, Salt. The next thing we want to play after our Ronin Renegade is we want to attack with Emberblade, pitching Salt, and then we want to attack with Double Strike. This is probably better than what I just said. Here, if the Double Strike gets blocked by Fleshbag, either Snatch comes for 4 or Salt comes for 3. That's going to be just as good. But what we can do now is pitch the Salt to attack with Emberblade. At this point, Snatch is the only thing left that can get hit by the Fleshbag, and the Snatch in Arsenal is really good. So I agree with the decision making here. Finally, Snatch comes for 4 and gets a full card from hand and the Fleshbag. Fleshbag has no effect because we have nothing to intimidate, so just great value for us. Scabskin creates 2 action points. We will not block this. I am likely going to throw a 4-card Art of War here, but I'm going to take 9 points of damage to do it. Blocking with the Furnace just to mitigate life loss is fine. Not particularly important. The only thing that is important is that we get that value before the end of the game. Here we will play the Art of War. We will banish our Lava Vein Loyalty and pitch the Lava Vein Loyalty, banish the Soul Beat Strike. We still have our snaps in case we don't draw a Draconic Starter, but we do. We draw the Mounting Anger. It is slightly unfortunate. that we didn't draw another zero-cost starter, as we would be able to play this Command and Conquer, but considering that Levia has no arsenal, it isn't the worst thing in the world. We can come with Mounting Anger for 5, then Blaze Headlong, then pitch our CNC to the Emberblade to pick up and play our Phoenix Flame. With our Art of War and with Levia's steadily dwindling health, we are starting to look at Pouncing Lynx, but I am not going to use it this early in the turn. I need to make sure that anything we find is going to be enough to push Levia to where she can't Blasmafet. Levia eagerly giving us cards and armor. That's fine. Again, I am not looking to Pouncing Lynx at this point. But we will see what happens if this Phoenix Flame connects. It does. So we have a choice to make regarding this Pouncing Lynx. Currently, Levia is at 24, and once this chain closes, she will have 3 Blood Debt in Banish, including this Carrion Husk. If we find Lava Burst right now, Lava Burst comes for 7, and we'll take Levia to 17 if it hits. Then, if Levia cannot banish more Blood Debt from her discard, her Blood Debt will take her to 14, which is not enough to push her over. Now, that all being said, there is a very good chance that Levia has a way to put more cards from her discard into her banish and increase her Blood Debt. And if she can increase her Blood Debt by even just 1 point, that is enough to get her to Blasmafet. So if I'm making this call now, I am not breaking Mask of the Pouncing Lynx. I don't want to take the chance that she can increase her Blood Debt to push herself to Blasmafet. I am just going to say no to Mask of the Pouncing Lynx. But here I'd take the different approach and say, this will take you to 17. You cannot increase your Blood Debt, so you will just go to 14. That is what happens. This Swing Big comes for just 8, and Levia will not be able to push herself to Blasmafet, but I think this was a very risky play from me that I didn't need to make. I think if Levia is at 24 here, she can turn off her Blood Debt, we take some damage, and then we get the opportunity to Pouncing Lynx her again in the future, as opposed to this where we really just gamble. Because if Levia can increase her Blood Debt, say she can put 2 or even 3 more Blood Debt attacks into her banish, she takes 4 points of damage, then she has 4 or 5 5-card hands to close out the game. I think this was pretty loose play by me, and if I was making this call now, I would not have broken Pouncing Lynx. That said, I did break it. This hand is not good for blocking, so we are just going to take 8 from this Swing Big. We kind of do want every card in this hand. It's going to be a little awkward. We are not going to play this Art of War. We are going to pitch it. So what we're going to do here is throw our double strikes. Levia does not have an easy way to stop this damage, to prevent herself from being pushed to 13 and no longer be able to Blasmafet. So we'll throw double strike, Ravenous Rabble, and then pitch Art of War for Emberblade. If I had a choice between Art of War or Spreading Flames in the arsenal, I would love to throw Art of War in there, but we can't pitch this Spreading Flames for anything. We could pitch it to Furnace just to get it out of our hand, but that just doesn't seem like a good line. Ravenous Rabble reveals a blue, so there is something that says we could keep Art of War and Spreading Flames and pair them together, but I think I would rather get my 3 points of damage here and just arsenal something good. Spreading Flames on its own is still a very strong card. Drawing into kind of a clunker here. It's going to be good enough, but by no means great. Levia coming with Slitherpede with Go Again. Of course, the Go Again was granted by the Art of War. We don't need to block that. We can choose to block later this turn. Claw coming in for 3. That is going to be followed by the Slitherpede that we saw Levia banish. We definitely cannot take 9 here. We need to stay above 2 to play around Reckless Swing. Looking at our hand, it does seem a bit clunky. We don't have much that benefits from our Spreading Flames, but between our Bittering Thorns, Spreading Flames, and Ancestral Empowerment, we may be able to deal enough damage to force Levia to start blocking and let her kill herself to Blood Debt. So with these 2 blues creating 6 resources, we have enough resources to Spreading Flames, Ember Blade, pick up our Phoenix Flame, and play Bittering Thorns. So all of that together costs 5 resources, plus whatever we drop from Ancestral Empowerment, and between Thorns, Ancestral, Spreading Flames, Ember Blade, and Phoenix Flame, we're looking at a potential 13 damage, plus whatever comes off the top. That 13 damage is going to take at least 2 cards out of Levia's hand, and if whatever comes off the top takes another card out of Levia's hand, she is no longer able to turn off her Blood Debt and very likely dies. So all of this is to say, we are taking 9 damage this turn. We are going to block 3 of it with equipment and stay at 5. That puts us out of range of being dead to double Reckless Swing, and puts us in a very good position to just kill Levia. As far as sequencing goes, I want to open with Bittering Thorns. Opening with Bittering Thorns is going to do one of 2 things. Either Levia will block with 6 from hand, in which case we save our Ancestral Empowerment for our Spreading Flames, or she blocks with a defense reaction from hand, and we Ancestral over the top of it to get 1 point of damage from the Ancestral, and 1 point of future damage from Bittering Thorns. Levia could also choose not to block it at all, or give just 1 card, in which case we save Ancestral. Either way, I want to open with Bittering Thorns to make sure I'm maximizing my damage this turn. Levia gives us the Sink Below. We Ancestral over the top and draw into Ravenous Rabble, which is really, really good for us here. We are just going to push some damage with our Spreading Flames, Ember Blade, Phoenix Flame. We're going to save this Rabble, as Rabble for 4 is much more impactful than Rabble for 2, and we want to wait until Levia has committed to other blocks. Spreading Flames pushes this Phoenix Flame up to 2. Levia chooses not to block it, so at this point, even Rabble for 2 is enough to get 1 card out of Levia, and at this point she is dead to Blood Debt. And that's the game. I do think this was fairly well played by me up until the Pouncing Links. I think I managed my hands very well around Scowling Fleshbag, but the Pouncing Links play was very loose. Getting Pouncing Links for 7 is good. It took Levia to 17, and it really did put her in a terrible spot where she could not flip to Blasmafet, but also couldn't prevent herself from going to 13. But if she had a different hand, if it wasn't Swing Big, if it was anything that banishes from her graveyard, now we are in a terrible position. So I really wish that I had saved the Pouncing Links for a future turn. We still had Snapdragon, we had the Double Strike. We would have been able to get value out of Salt the Wound, and perhaps even more value from something else. Overall, I think that was a bit loose by me, but of course it did work out. And how we managed the game outside of that single turn, I thought was very good. Blocking with the E-Strike and Soulbeat Strike, just maximizing value overall rather than offensive value, is, I believe, how we need to play the Brute matchup. and something I should be looking to do more often in other matchups too. I hope you found this game helpful. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please head jab that like button. My comments are always open for any questions or feedback, and I will see you back here tomorrow for more daily FaB gameplay. Until then, take care.